What is up, everyone? We are back live for part 2 of our conversation regarding these Charlottesville demonstrations. Now, the point that I wanted to get into just before we finished our first half of this conversation, English, the point I was going to get into, socioeconomics. This is one of the reasons as to why I believe racism exists. And I'm going to give you a story that I was told. This would have been on this past Saturday, which kind of ties in your whole point of people, or let's say, it ties in the whole point of white people, in essence, not wanting to be looked at as or being in fear of being more or less inferior. This is the story that I was told. So the person who does the hemming and alteration, like clothing alterations for our family, my brother and I went and visited him on Saturday just to get some quick work done on some clothes. He told us a story where he was driving down the road and he was heading towards Canadian Tire. He had to stop at a stop sign, and there was an individual, and it was probably someone who was in like early to mid-20s. It was a white guy, early to mid-20s, and this guy is Middle Eastern. He owns the alteration business, and he drives a BMW SUV. Okay. The individual who was, I guess, in interaction with, that person was riding their bike. So he stopped at a stop sign. The individual said to him, and I'm just going to paraphrase what in essence was said. He basically made a comment as to saying, you came here as an immigrant and you're driving a BMW, and I'm here in essence working my ass off paycheck to paycheck, and I don't get to see the bells and
fruits of his labor.
Yeah, exactly. Of life in comparison to you. So that's why I believe that, once again, socioeconomics is one of the major reasons as to why racism exists. Now, the other thing that I wanted to say is, the other thing that I wanted to say is, aside from socioeconomics, I also believe there has to be some semblance of self-hatred that has to exist. I know this kind of sounds weird. I want you to listen to my psychology behind what I'm saying to see if you get where I'm going. My question I have to ask you is, how do you have hatred for a group of people where the people in the group, they're all specific individuals? And this is why I boil it down to individuals versus groupthink. You have specific individuals who represent a group, and what is it that they have done to you specifically that would make you hate them?
Yeah, that's why I try to tell you it's the fear shit. It's just the fear of the unknown. Think about it in a more simpler term as this. When you're in high school, okay, and we had the CASA class, how many people would have been willing to not necessarily mock those kids to their face, but mock an outburst, say, at mass? But it doesn't mean that they have insecurities with themselves. It doesn't mean that they don't have insecurities with themselves. It just means that they are going after what is different.
And they, in essence, lack the understanding.
Yeah. Yeah, they lack the understanding or the sensibilities or whatever the case is. It doesn't have to be, in my opinion, racism doesn't have to be a complex issue. It doesn't really need to be analyzed in the sense of, do people that are racist inherently have self-esteem issues, essentially, as you're saying? Because I don't really think that's the case. I think they just fear being inferior. Like you said, it's as simple as that. To me, anyway. That's my opinion. That's my thoughts.
Okay, so then the question I have to ask you is, do you believe that people who are, let's say, racist against black people, do you believe that they think that they are better than black people?
Yeah. But that would be their answer. Whether or not it's true, their true feelings, I don't know. It could be exactly as you say, that they're insecure with themselves. That is definitely a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
But their answer to you would be, yes, I am better than whatever group that they dislike.
Okay, so this is a point that I would want to make after that. If they have a hatred, if a racist, I don't care if it's a racist white person to a black person, a racist black person to a white person, whatever it may be. If they have a hatred for the other group of people, hatred usually comes from a standpoint of envy, does it not? Because
no.
You don't
all the people I would have said I hated in high school, I didn't hate out of jealousy. Hated them because they're fucking morons. So no, I don't agree with that.
Okay. Perfect that you said that. Here's the difference. You're saying that they are morons because of what?
Yeah, I get where you're going with this. Personal interaction with them on an individual basis.
Exactly. In either interactions or the way that they act, what they're doing.
Yeah.
Perfect. Therefore, if you have a hatred for a group of people, what is the derivative of the hatred? Where is it coming from?
Fear. I've said it multiple times now. I'm telling you, it's fear. Think about, okay, so fuck black people for a second.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Muslims, okay?
No, perfect.
Think about all the fucking fear mongering that goes on news stations, okay? There's like over 1 billion fucking Muslims in the world. Yo, I looked up this stat, it's fucking crazy. ISIS was responsible, now these numbers aren't going to be perfect because I looked this stat up like a month ago. ISIS was responsible for like, I don't know, 2,100 deaths in a year. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, in the United States alone, way more murders than that happened. Like over 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, the government in the United States is pouring money into pro-military propaganda.
Yeah.
While instead of pumping money into their own country to fix whatever issues are causing 10,000 people to get murdered anyway.
Yeah.
Plus.
Yeah.
And the question is why? And it all comes down to money. It's always about money.
Yes.
Because sending the military somewhere is a boost to the economy. Mm-hmm. Every time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the potential fruits of the expeditions themselves, like for instance obtaining oil, opiates, whatever the case is, and I mean like opiate farms, not physical pills, you morons.
Yeah.
Then that adds to obviously the betterment. Now, if you're willing to spend money for those exploits and not willing to fix your own country, who's really in the wrong? But people don't even realize that because they don't look shit up. They don't educate themselves. It's crazy to think that ISIS is dangerous. Like, there's more deaths on the fucking 401 in a year.
Exactly.
Now, I'm not saying, obviously, they're not a peaceful group. So, yes, they are dangerous, but the scale that that danger is presented to you on is way over-exaggerated.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, even if you group in, because I did look up this stat too, even if you group in all the terror attacks in general and spread it over a 10-year period, like, let's say since 9/11,
mm-hmm.
every single year, murder rates top it in the States. It's a fucking joke.
Mm-hmm.
And yet all these people are so sold on war. I mean, there's a lot of people on the left side that are anti-war and things of that nature. But there are also obviously a lot that are pro-war too. And you have to realize that you're being fucking manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
Because the same people that own the news stations own shares or full companies that would explicitly benefit from war. Mm-hmm. So now we are so scared of a particular religion that is no more inherently violent than Christianity, all because of how it is presented to us by mainstream media. So again, now if you talk to someone, let's say 20 years ago, and ask them about Muslims, right? This will wrap my point up. Mm-hmm. They would have said, like, either A, what the fuck is a Muslim? Or B, like, it's of no consequence to me. Mm-hmm. You fast forward 10 years later, in our country alone, there's been nothing that would suggest that we should fear anything. And people want to bring up, like, the Berry 7 or whatever. They weren't even able to execute their plan. They're a fucking joke. Okay? So, your perception has changed. Public perception of a whole group of people has changed in the course of like 10, 15 years. Are you fucking kidding me? And you think that just happened naturally? Or honestly? No. You're all a bunch of sheep. You might as well dress up every day and go outside of your house in some sheep's clothing because you're being played every day of your fucking life. No different. I don't think it's any different with people who are racist against black or fucking Hispanic. Like, I don't think it really makes a difference. Mm-hmm. It's just what may have caused it might be different. Like, it might not have been mainstream media, although it may have.
Yeah, it could have been like personal experience or...
Yeah, and your personal experience with someone of your race is never going to make you think your whole race is a piece of shit if you... Yep. But when it's another race, it's like, yo, all black people are stupid.
Yeah. It's actually interesting. This is... I'm actually skipping a whole bunch of stuff that I wanted to discuss, but it is fine. Okay, so the point that you made about, I guess people being anti-Muslim being anti-Muslim, it's actually interesting. Like, look at what these protesters, these demonstrators, look at what they are classifying themselves as. They are classifying themselves as what? Christian individual. No, not even that. Apologies. Not even that. Christian individuals.
Yep. Well, let me tell you something. I don't think there was a more detrimental entity or terroristic group ever in the history of the world that caused more deaths than the Catholic Church. So just chew on that. Which all was in the name of God, right? And that's, unfortunately, that is so frequently the situation where people are killing other people in the name of religion, which is directly going against religion, but it's not because so many religions simultaneously say, don't kill, but you can kill the non-believers. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think, too, that living your life by what a book says that was written by a man and isn't even presented to you as written by the entity itself, being God, I mean, mm-hmm. It's a big risk you're taking because there's contradictions like that throughout. Mm-hmm. Don't kill anybody, but you can kill the non-believers. And that right there doesn't really make a whole hell of a lot of sense. Because think about it this way. If your time on earth is as it is presented to you in the Bible, then, or any holy book, basically, the bottom line is it's a tryout. Which means all the people that claim that, God is testing you with this or that or whatever, no, it's not, I don't believe that's the case. You're gonna live your life, and you're gonna live your life based on not obstacles that God has put in front of you, because those same people will say God will never put anything on your plate that you can't handle. So explain to me why suicide is such a prevalent thing in our society. Because that's a line of bullshit. That's just something that some person made up to say to make someone else feel good about the stress that they were going through and make them feel that they would be able to get through it no matter what. They would be able to persevere, but it's bullshit. It's just a lie to comfort people. And I'm not saying that makes the religion a lie. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying, fuck it. I don't know what I'm saying.
I actually have a counter. I don't want to get into a whole idea because I was going to make the topic of Christianity and religion a completely separate topic. I'll just let what you said be what it is. We may get into that hopefully in the show where we deal with Christianity and religion in itself. But,
actually, hold on, dude. This kind of just gave me a question.
What?
If you kill in the name of something else, does it make you a coward for not being able to say that you're just doing it for you?
Does it make you a coward?
Yeah. Is that not essentially what you are? Because you can't take responsibility for your actions, so you're trying to pass the buck onto some greater power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're a coward.
Yeah, I would agree.
Actually, fuck it, you're a pussy. Like, just own your shit. And I mean, it's not good shit, but own it regardless.
Yeah. I would actually...
And they don't think it's bad inherently, so fucking don't sit there and say it's for anything other than your own personal beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Because tell me where it says in any holy book outside of... Tell me where it says to specifically discriminate based on color.
Yeah.
The only time it tells you to discriminate is non-believers.
Mm-hmm. Which...
And even then, at times, it says to present them with information about your faith in an attempt to convert them.
Mm-hmm.
So you're out here killing people. You're cool. Shit.
It's actually interesting. Like, I am now, and this is something that it's probably post-high school, I would say. It's something that I became a big subscriber of. I'm actually a huge supporter of people calling out their own people. Because when you do that, that lets me know that you are a person who is truly about equality.
Yep.
And this is what I want to say with regards to that. The conversation that we had last year with regards to the two killings that happened, the Philando Castile and I forgot which one or where the other one happened, but in any case, those two situations that happened, we ran a recording.
Yep, I remember.
And when we talked, remember, I was an advocate for, I guess what the black people would call the white cops. I was an advocate for the police, whereas you were an advocate for black people and Black Lives... would you say the Black Lives Matter movement, more or less?
Conceptually, yes.
Yes. So, in essence, do you actually know what that means? When I say, and you look at how we converse, how we dialogue, we are people that believe in the idea of equality, yet we actually stand up for our opposites. Yeah. I am one who actually, what's the word? Not condemn, but I critique. I critique the actions of the people that look like me more so than I critique the actions of people that do not look like me. And
yeah.
And I would also have to say, I don't know if you would agree or not, but, and it's kind of based off of the way you talk, I kind of get an understanding of this. You critique your people or people that look like you more so than you critique people outside of the people that look like you. That to me, when I see people that can do that, that to me shows that those are people who are genuinely good people, genuinely looking for equality amongst our people. Because
my rebuttal, hold on, because my rebuttal to that would be that we should critique everybody equally. And if I'm being overly harsh with whites and you're being overly harsh with blacks, then that's not equality. That's still just a different form of discrimination in a way. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. I understand what you're saying, but here is also how I look at it. If I am going to represent black people, which I am a black individual. However, I represent myself first. I don't think of myself as, I'm a black person, yada, yada, yada. I represent myself. When I go out into the world, I want to represent myself as being, probably number one, it would be a Christian individual, or I would just tie in with being a good individual.
Yeah.
You're saying that it is, in essence, a form of discrimination. The idea that I want to put forth is, let's say that there is a stereotype or a prejudice that exists for a certain group of people. Do you know what you would try to do if that stereotype or prejudice, negative stereotype or prejudice exists? You would try and dispel it. Make sense?
You would try and represent the opposite to display that it's not as general as a blanket statement as people perceive.
Exactly. And what usually happens when people have a certain viewpoint or they make a certain comment about or a certain stereotype of a certain race, it's never usually something that gets brought up and it's a positive thing. It's usually a negative thing. That's why I believe in the idea of calling out your own people first, because you try and see yourself as the best version of the people that you are categorized under. You represent yourself first, number one, which should be the ultimate driving force in trying to be the best person that you can be. But then you're also representing the group that you are a part of, which it's a secondary thing. But if you want to dispel all of those stereotypes and all of those things that exist for your own group of people, you're gonna have to be the best version of your group of people.
Yeah, essentially like lead by example.
Exactly. That's why I believe in the whole idea of people calling out their own first before they call out other people. That lets me know that in my opinion anyways, that lets me know that you're actually someone that is about equality and you're not one of those people who are or who represent like pro yourself or pro your own group.
Yeah.
I don't believe that those categorizations of being, let's say, pro-black, pro-white, all of that, I believe that's stupid because those people, I can't wrap my head around the fact that those people are looking for genuine equality for all people. I can't see it.
But let me address what I said briefly. Because I said conceptually I am pro Black Lives Matter, and here's what I mean by that. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't be able to critique a police officer's excessive use of force and not be able to critique the individual, I believe it was in Black Lives Matter Toronto, that refused to sell Black Lives Matter merch to a white individual.
Oh, I'm
that person, I'm just saying, we both have to be able to critique both sides of it, and I am more than willing to say that individual was an idiot and should not hold any position of power or anything within the Black Lives Matter movement because they're only furthering discrimination.
Yes.
So your name inherently scares white people, okay? That's why All Lives Matter was even created. Because white people feel as though you saying Black Lives Matter is you saying white lives don't matter. Mm-hmm. What white people are too arrogant to understand in a vast number of situations is that basically Black Lives Matter is saying Black Lives Matter too, or as much as white lives. There's always the baseline that white lives already matter. Yeah. There's nobody needs to fight for that shit because it's already apparent throughout everything.
Yeah.
So, in saying that, I just wanted to make it clear that it's situations like that we can't just dismiss and say, well, because of their socioeconomic conditions, or situations that they were brought up in, they have a right to be resentful towards white people. I understand that you may be resentful towards the system, but you can't generalize us the way we generalized you for so long and expect a positive outcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, even when it comes, I'm not necessarily saying that you don't call out the other group. Like, obviously, if there is a cop and she were to shoot an individual for what looks like no good reason, or he used excessive means and kills a person who wasn't a threat, you obviously have to call that person out. But look at what the police do. The police, when that stuff happens, it's like they don't even call out their own people, which that's why it makes it look like they are not about the idea. That's why I bring up this whole idea of equality. Because if they actually believe that the police officer did something that they shouldn't have done, they should be able to say that up front.
Yeah, they never do, and that's why a lot of riots end up taking place, is because these cops never get convicted, and a good portion of the time never even get charged.
And it's not even that. Forget about going all the way to the damn trial or the court case. If it looks like, through the evidence, you can say if there was, let's say, a press conference, and it was the lieutenant or whatever it is, who's reviewing everything that happened. That person should be able to say, it looks like this officer used excessive force or force that didn't need to be used in this particular situation. If you say that, people will have a respect for that group of people when you can be honest and call out your own group if they have done something wrong.
I understand both sides of it, though, because, and not to the point of them not getting convicted or held to trial, but in the court of public opinion, like you're saying. So let's say for whatever reason, something comes up where you did something apparently stupid.
Yeah.
And I have to address it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I'm not privy or have not been privy to all the information as yet.
Mm-hmm.
Making a decision prior to having all the information is not a good idea, because it potentially shows that you're willing to almost be bullied by the press or the uncertainty. And you're willing to cave under the pressure and say, like, yep, he fucked up, instead of waiting to know all the information. It's basically making you need to not make educated guesses in these type of things. Because then right away, anytime you then see all the information, it's going to look like you're backtracking.
So, backtrack.
Yeah, it won't go well with people. It's a PR thing. It's because people are sheep. This is what I'm telling you. So as soon as a police officer acknowledges that another police officer did something wrong, it doesn't then matter if they retract that. It's too late. It'll be too late. Because people will already have condemned police officer A, because police officer B initially condemned police officer A, and people will just make shit up in their heads like police officer B was swayed by police officer A to come back out and recant his statement or whatever.
No, I don't look at it.
But that's what you have to look at as with people that are simpletons, and the whole world is simpletons.
Okay, they're simpletons so you're calling them simpletons off the top. So look at what is happening now. In these cases where these police are killing individuals or killing black individuals, killing people, whatever, people are already jumping the gun. If from objective, you look at what happened, there's footage, whatever, you should be able to look at that and say, in that situation. Now, here's the other thing. I understand that there are also subjectives. The person who is making the commentary wasn't in the same situation as that individual. They don't have the same emotions. They didn't go through the same day, week, month, year that person may have gone through as well.
The video also rarely shows the altercation from start to finish. Think about that guy that was shot in his car and the girlfriend Facebook lived it.
Mm-hmm.
She Facebook lived after he got fucking shot.
Yeah.
So you don't know what led up to it. But your immediate reaction is to be like, fuck that cop, he shot somebody, and it would appear as though that guy didn't have a gun. So then if you condemn that, right, and I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not saying anybody should.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is if a person in a position of power, one of his superiors, condemns that immediately without conducting an investigation first, then there's a fucking strong likelihood that someone will end up killing that cop.
Here's what I want to say about that particular situation. In that particular situation, I don't think... we're speaking on this specific situation, whatever. I don't think that you would be able to condemn the cop based off of the pure objective evidence that you have at the
People
beginning.
would expect you to still, though. The black community would still expect people to.
Well, then that's where I lose respect for the black community then.
Now, so I'll give you one that supports what you're saying. Where there's one like Eric Gardner, and he gets choked out, that was the guy that got choked out by multiple police officers out in front of a bodega or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And he had an asthma attack and died.
Yeah.
That one, because it showed you essentially from start to finish, it showed you from the start of an actual physical confrontation.
Yes.
That one, I agree. You publicly fucking bash every one of those cocksuckers.
Exactly.
Everyone. But very rarely is the evidence so conclusive. Is the public evidence so conclusive right off the bat? That doesn't usually happen. And that's why I'm a huge advocate for those, like the body cams.
Yeah.
Then it will be from start to finish. And they shouldn't be able to be remotely tampered with. They shouldn't be able to be physically tampered with. That shit should be on 24/7. Pick it up. There is no fucking button that you can't touch without a key to turn it on and off. Therefore, officers can't shut it off before they do something fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But condemning someone without conducting a thorough investigation is no different than I say, like, in the court of law, right? It's innocent until proven guilty. And I would like to see these situations be conducted in the same manner. The reason it's failing right now is because nobody's handing down fucking convictions. So there's a level of bureaucracy and brotherhood that is superseding justice, and that's bullshit.
Yeah.
But theoretically, that's what the whole fucking due process is supposed to be there for. The captain keeps his fucking mouth shut. He waits for the IA investigation to be done. When the IA investigation is done, he makes a decision off that. Then a completely non-partisan group or whatever decides whether or not real charges need to be brought upon this individual, and then that's a whole separate investigation. It's a tough thing, man. It's a tough thing to know what the way to do it is, because you jeopardized an officer's life. A human being's life. Fuck the fact that they're an officer, but you jeopardize a human being's life anytime you side with a group that is already incited. It's very dangerous.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I guess because your whole idea of people, I don't know if you refer to them as like sheep or in essence them jumping the gun, as a rational, or what I believe to be myself as a rational individual, I believe in the idea of having the conversation. That's why I believe that in those situations where those events happen, if you look at it, if you look at the footage or whatever you have at the beginning, you look at that and say, and it should be almost like a ongoing story. It should be like a episode that is like show to show for every damn press conference that the lieutenant or whoever is going to have when he makes his like live statements or whatever. He should be able to see whatever it is that he sees at the beginning and say, maybe it looks a little more to this side, or it looks a little more to this side. However, we're going to do an investigation. Investigate a little bit more, have episode number 2. Say, based off of what we have seen now, it seems as if, and then you could say, maybe it
is
the
why not
opposite
just start
direction.
with that episode 2? The episode 1 is pointless. Because you're either going to make a huge mistake, or the same conclusion is going to come about when you have more solid evidence. So why even bother with the episode 1? It doesn't make sense. Because the only thing you're allowing to happen is the potential for you to make a fuck up.
Yeah, and that's
it. There's no positive to it. If you go out there and you say, it looks like this cop committed murder, that's going to greenlight an unstable individual that is so tired of feeling oppressed, and someone is going to get popped. There's going to be an attempt on someone's life. It's just irresponsible, I think, to make any comment before an investigation has concluded. So the part A, in my opinion, should just be an acknowledgement of the situation and informing the public that an investigation is forthcoming.
Cody, that's the problem that we have. Isn't that exactly what is happening right now?
No, the problem is that the investigations aren't yielding any fucking results. But the captain siding with people isn't going to change that. Because these people need to go to jail the same as their colored counterparts, or even their civilian counterparts would go to jail after committing the same act. That's where the problem lies. It doesn't fucking lie so much with the fact that the captain doesn't come out and condemn this shit right away. That's irresponsible for him to do. It's irresponsible on many levels. So that's not the right way to go about it. I don't know how to execute positive results out of these fucking hearings, because that's what's needed. I don't know how the fuck to do it. I don't understand how these guys aren't losing their jobs, their pensions, and fucking going to prison. I don't get it. I don't know.
So you're saying that in essence there's just a lack of honesty in either the investigations or the court proceedings that are happening?
That, maybe it's not so much an honesty thing so much as it is
integrity.
Because if it's a jury, right, that's making these rulings, which I'm not sure it always is or isn't.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure a grand jury has to decide. And that goes back to how a black person is more likely to be convicted of a crime under the exact same circumstances as a white person. So that's systemic racism all over again.
Yeah.
Now add on the fact that he's in a position of responsibility and power, and people, if the police officer does not have a history of acting in an irresponsible way, they are more willing to say, likely, he was under duress. How can I know what he actually felt or what in that particular moment he thought he saw? It's not my job to critique someone in that position. Who am I to judge him when he's out there day in, day out, putting his life on the line?
Yeah.
I think that's how people think. And then therefore they give the fucking cop a pass. But if their neighbor did the same shit, they'd be the first one hopping on the goddamn gossip train and spreading the shit all around. But because it's a person in a perceived position of power, it takes more convincing for people to be willing to ruin that individual's life. Whereas if a gangbanger's on trial, the chances of him being found innocent for no matter what is pretty fucking slim. Because he's got a record, he's got priors, he's fucking likely a visual minority, and all these things end up being aggravating factors. They shouldn't be, but they are. Just like a police officer's position ends up being a mitigating factor. It shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah.
And it might be subconscious even, so that's why it's so difficult. But that's why people fight for systemic racism to be acknowledged. Because if it's not even acknowledged, then there's no way to change people's perception.
Yeah.
Get me on one of those get me on a jury anytime. And I'm going to sit there and explain to the jurors, as we're in the back, do you realize the concept of reasonable doubt? If there is even a small chance that the gangbanger didn't do it, and there's even a slight weight put on a piece of evidence that is circumstantial, you cannot convict that guy.
Mm-hmm.
If you apply the same thing to police officers, a good portion of the time the police officers are going to get off because of fucking duress and all this other shit. But it's not going to be 100% of the time like it has been thus far. This is getting fucking stupid.
Yeah, that's true.
Now this kind of went off topic.
Yes, it did. Well, yeah, I guess there isn't really a solution for that, but going back to what it is that we were talking about originally, my final question for you, sir. What is the solution to the idea of racism?
Education. I guess. I mean, it's the best you can do. Man, there was this protest just recently. I think it was in Washington, but I could be wrong, where the right went to some bullshit monument. I'm sure it was a Confederate one. And they decided to speak there. And they were outnumbered by counter-protesters like 10-1. So, although the situation may seem very dire in the South, situations like that let me know that the vast majority of people aren't inherently racist.
Mm-hmm.
The vast majority of people, I'm sure, have stereotypes, and that's going to be a very difficult thing to eradicate. But as far as absolute racism, or even close to it, I choose to believe that it's not prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
Shit's going to happen. I hope it doesn't always happen. I don't know necessarily what the solution is, except to bring up the next generation consistently, letting them know that a visual difference doesn't mean shit. If you're going to teach your white kid that he shouldn't pick on another white kid with Down syndrome, just because the kid with Down syndrome looks a little different, then by that very same logic, you should be teaching the kid that he shouldn't be picking on a black kid just because the black kid looks different.
Mm-hmm.
And so long as you do that, eventually it will be such a, I don't know, like an old school ideology or thought process, racism in general, that it will be eradicated. There will always be a small pocket of people, I'm sure, but it won't be as prevalent. However, it seems as though there's going to have to be a big explosion of shit to happen to get things rolling in the right direction, because so long as police officers aren't held accountable for their actions, so long as these type of people aren't held accountable for their actions, the ones leading the extreme right protests, then there's always going to be an argument that there's systemic racism. So you have to start treating everybody equally on a criminal level and work your way down from there.
That's a good response, man. That is a good response. I don't have any. I'm burnt out, man. I have nothing to add to that.
Yeah, so it's certainly a depressing conversation, but let's leave it at that for now. And as the situations progress, we will continue to speak on it further if there are new situations in which we are enlightened to some degree.
All right, man. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. This has been episode number 5 of Conceited Conceptions. I am Kema, also known as Kema the Dilemma, and my dude,
the Guru.
Like this video, share, and subscribe if you can, and just continue watching. We're going to be pumping this shit out because, well, this stuff matters. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for tuning in. I'm out. We're out.